all know about the classic game called Loteria, but now we get to know a little bit more about the mastermind behind the game. Please welcome creator of Millennial Loteria, Mike Alfaro. So hi, Mike, welcome.
Hi.
I know you're creator of the Millennial Loteria. Can you tell a little bit about what it was like growing up, how you got to creating your cards? What was that journey like?
Oh wow. I grew up in Guatemala City, Guatemala, until I was 18 years old. I went to Chapman and was there from 2006 to 2010 when I graduated, and then started working in advertising, making commercials and using all the tools that I had learned in at Chapman University for, my career, my major. And then from there, I sort of, learned a little bit more about uh, I guess just how like Latinos and the Hispanic community is advertised to. And I did a lot of Hispanic advertising and commercials. And I think that really gave me a lot of insight into how brands and just businesses target Latinos for for their buying power. And I realized there was a huge amount of buying power for Latinos, that we were over consuming a lot of products, a lot of media, but there wasn't really a lot of stuff about us that showed us in a positive light, or that represented us positively. And so I wanted to create something that, gave us a aspirational, cool, modern, hip representation that I thought was lacking in the industry. And that's sort of where Millennial Loteria, this game about modern Latinos and taking stuff that felt old, outdated, and modernizing it into something new, uh, became part of the something that I wanted to do. And I just kind of stumbled upon it. I wasn't really trying to make a game. I started making things for social media, basically memes and doing stuff on my Instagram, and it just sort of blew up from there, and people wanted me to make the game. I started making these cards that were updated cards of Loteria cards, and then they just sort of went viral, and people were like, where can I buy the game? How can I buy this? And that's sort of where I started to actually making and manufacturing the games.
That's amazing. What do you remember what it was like the first time you saw your cards on shelves? Do you remember that feeling?
Yeah, it was awesome. There's a video on my TikTok about sort of like the journey that I went through. And seeing it there was just like really, I cried a little. It's really cool to see something that you worked really hard for be on store shelves. And it took about 4 years, I think, for me to get on like in Target shelves. We were selling online, we were in Amazon, we were, small independent stores carried our product across the United States. So I'd seen it before, but it was something I was seeing at a national retailer level, like a store like Target. That felt really cool because it felt like my, goal of bringing representation for Latinos. You can bring it to anything, really. You can, there's more representation that needs to be on TV, in film, in podcasts. I just saw that there was an opening in the game aisle. There weren't really games that were geared towards Latino consumers, Latino millennials. But at the same time, too, for millennials in a way that was done, that was funny, because it's the game I think that have opened the doors, even though it's just a game, that comes from Hispanic culture, Latino culture. I think I've seen that there's other people, whether you're Latino or not, that have found that the game is funny. And it's a fun game for anybody to play, whether you play Loteria, grew up playing it, or this is your first introduction to it. I think it's had that crossover moment. And I think that was really special to me to see that it was being embraced not just by Latino communities, but by a store like Target that sells to everyone. And they would, place it on their aisle so that anybody, could buy it and play it and keep the tradition alive.
At the beginning of your answer, you shared that your reaction was on TikTok, and I did watch a few of your TikToks and Instagram. I just wanted to do some research before, and I loved the way you show your personality on TikTok, just the way, like how to say these words in Spanish and matching with the lyrics, or it was like the medieval times, different
Yeah.
of songs. I love that, and I just really love the way you show your personality on social media. Why do you do your social media the way you do? I think a lot of companies just get other people to represent their brand, or have actors in. Like, why do you? I think it's so well the way you do it. Why do you show your social media the way you do?
Because I've worked in advertising for 10 years. I was a creative director. I did commercials. I ran the social media pages for, big brands, from Taco Bell to Jack in the Box to Southern California Honda. I was working behind the scenes to, put that content out there. And, brands will spend millions of dollars appearing, pretending to be human. And I just take a different approach because that to me is not like I've been there, done that. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to have social media by committee. And I took everything that I learned and I just found that it's much more interesting and much more human if you just post stuff that interests you. So for me, I just, live my life on social media. And sometimes I'll post about, hey, you should buy Millennial Loteria, because obviously, like, I want to sell the game as well. But it's not something that I constantly, always do. And I think that keeps the people that follow me interested in what I'm doing. They feel like they come along with this journey that I'm on, because again, I don't have it all figured out. I'm learning as I go, and I think that struggle part of it is also a thing that people like to follow. And again, I for a game like Millennial Loteria, it's really hard to represent an entire generation. Millennials are a huge generation, and it's impossible for me to represent every single one. And as well with Latinos, we're not monolithic. We are completely different from one another, from different countries, from different dialects of Spanish. Not everyone speaks the same type of Spanish. Experiences, we're so diverse that it's impossible for a game or for me to represent every single person. Millennial Loteria is a reflection of my story, of what I've gone through. It's very personal too, like the way that I've updated the cards. Every card has a, you know, something that relates back to my life. And so I think there's an honesty in that people can see and people relate to, and they realize that even if you don't relate to every single card I've created, you might relate to a few of them, or you might relate to a video that I posted that you really liked. And then you're like, oh, and he also has a game, let me check out the game. And so I can only bring representation for myself. And then that's enough, I think, for other people to see themselves reflected in that if you have that perspective and that representation, people will naturally gravitate towards it because it's not out there.
So I met you at the Males Achieving Success Mass Conference at Chapman. With Chapman being a PWI and being less diverse back then when you were in college, what was your experience like? Was this conference something you needed to see, some representation you desired? Because I know the Cross Cultural Center is a little bit newer. Like, what was your experience like? What did you need to see back then?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very obviously white school when I went there. People didn't know where Guatemala was. People didn't know much about Latinos. I experienced, a lot of microaggressions, I guess, in that way, or people um I remember people sometimes being very ignorant about Latino culture, about where I came from, because I would get a lot of questions about, like, did you have cell phones in Guatemala? It's like, of course. Did you have internet? It was just very like outdated thinking of what Latinos were, especially Latino immigrants. They have this idea that we're all like poor and can't speak English and just not contributing in a way to society. And it's just like that couldn't be further from the truth. And so I took it upon myself to change some minds. And that has also influenced a lot of the work that we're doing with Millennial Loteria, with our game. It's to change those outdated stereotypes that people might have about Latino immigrants. And so that's, from my experience at Chapman, I think that really pulled through into the work that I'm doing now, and to try to help educate people, but do it in a way that's not preachy, but it's like funny, and it's, relatable, and it's educating people in a way that doesn't make them feel attacked, because when they feel attacked, they shut down, and that's not really beneficial for anyone.
What was your favorite event or meet and greet you've been to? I know you did shops, you've done travel opportunities to like Dallas, Despierta America, Kelly Clarkson show. What is your favorite red carpets? What is your favorite event you've gone to? That was really exciting.
Oh my gosh, my favorite event
Mm.
that I've gone to. That's really, I'm trying to think of all the places I've gone. They're all so fun. One time we went to Dallas, Texas as well. On when we launched the first edition of Millennial Loteria, when it came out before Target, when it was like in Amazon and all that stuff. We did a little launch tour with my publisher, and we set up a meeting, a game night at this brewery, and 400 people showed up. And I was like, insane that they shut down the brewery because there was a line out the door of people who wanted to come in and play the game. I was playing with 200 people at the same time on a big stage. They ran out of beer, they ran out of food. It was like,
Oh.
they were very prepared, but like there was an entire brewery that ran out of food. They ran out of drink at a brewery where they actually make the beer. And so that was really cool to see. That's when I realized, okay, there's a big target market out there for a product like the one I'm making and for experiences that I'm providing to people. So that was a big moment for me internally of like, okay, this is connecting with people. This is not just me selling it from my garage. This is actually can take off. And now seeing so many people. I mean, we've sold over 500,000 millennial loterias, and there's so many more people that I think can still buy this game out there that there's a lot of runway for me to still grow. And so I'm happy about that.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. I'm so proud. What is parenthood also like for you? I know that's something new. What has that been like, especially balancing with the job as well?
Yeah, I've been a dad for 2.5 months, so I'm still getting used to it. But it's been really fun and rewarding. And I don't want to become ever like a not a mommy blogger, I guess, or a daddy blogger, like somebody who's like putting their kids' lives online all the time and making that something that they do. But I think there's something special to be able to share that journey with people where I'm like, can be, even though I'm not sharing every single moment of like things that are happening with my child, being able to tell them like, hey, I'm growing too. I'm on this journey, and Millennial Loteria is growing too. So I'm getting expansion packs, like our midlife crisis expansion pack with like a diaper change. So things like I say, I'm representing as I grow up, the game grows up with me. There's new expansion packs. I'm working on with my publisher on a kids lines, like a children's book series that we're launching 2024. And so I'm looking at samples, and like I written it. They're like doing editing stuff for it now. It's just like producing it. So that's another big thing that I'm going. I wanted to create stuff for my daughter that was a book for kids to learn English and Spanish, because I want her to also grow up knowing both languages like I did because of the opportunities that I was afforded. Because of that, I want to have that as well. And it's something that I can share with other millennials who also want their kids to grow up speaking English and Spanish in a way that's fun, that's like, relatable.
I'm excited about the book. I know you had puzzles, a shirt line at Target too. I'm really excited. Is there anything else you're looking forward to in 2023? It could be with the business, it could be with your family. Anything you're looking forward to this year?
There's so many things that I'm looking forward to. I really like working with corporate partners. I've worked with a lot of movie studios for different things. I've always wanted to do movie marketing, and so I was able to work for Disney with Encanto. We created a loteria for Encanto. I did that for the Suicide Squad as well. And so hopefully, I get to do another partnership with a studio this year. It hasn't been locked in yet, but and I think I love going to events now. That's something that is a big part of influencing community as well. I guess content creators, they invite you to red carpets, to events. And so this week I'm going to a J-Lo event for a new
Woo!
movie. Yeah, tomorrow. So it's like I love going to those things. I'm always being like, okay, so I wonder like who I'm gonna get to meet this year. Like what, because again, I love pop culture. I love like, meeting like idols that I grew up watching in Guatemala, and then you get to meet them in real life, and you're like, oh my God, like you're amazing. That's a really big thing for me. I always wanted to come to LA and be a little bit of part of that lifestyle as well. And so being afforded those opportunities is really fun and exciting, and I don't take it ever for granted. I'm always like in the moment. And so I don't know. Let's see who I meet this year, and who I can work with, and who we can turn into a loteria card.
Oh, thank you so much for letting me speak with you, Mike. You're so amazing, and I'm excited for so many things that come for you. 2023. It's gonna be our year. I'm excited. Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Of course, of course.
They're finally here. I ordered the original Millennial Loteria and the Y2K version. If you want one for at home, just visit your local Target or go to millennialloteria.com.